Emotions are the raw and powerful currents that shape our human experience. When someone you care about stops texting or acts distant, it's natural to feel a flood of negative emotions: confusion, sadness, frustration, maybe even anger. These feelings can feel overwhelming, pulling you into a whirlwind of self-doubt. You might find yourself questioning your worth or replaying past conversations, searching for answers to why this shift happened. But the first step in overcoming these negative feelings is to acknowledge them fully. This isn't about pushing them aside or pretending they don't exist. It's about recognizing their presence, understanding their purpose, and giving yourself the space to feel them without judgment. Emotions are not your enemy. They are signals, messengers that offer insight into what's happening within you. When you feel hurt or disappointed because someone has grown distant, it's not just about the other person, it's about your needs, your expectations, and your deeply rooted desires for connection and affirmation. These feelings arise because you care, because you value the bond you thought you had. This caring is not a weakness, it's a testament to your humanity. By acknowledging your emotions, you honor your capacity for love and connection even when it feels painful. Avoid the temptation to suppress these emotions or brush them off as unimportant. Society often tells us to be strong or move on quickly, but true strength lies in allowing yourself to process what you're experiencing. Suppressed emotions don't disappear, they linger beneath the surface, often manifesting as anxiety, resentment, or even physical tension. By confronting your feelings head-on, you prevent them from festering and taking root in unhealthy ways. Acknowledging your emotions begins with naming them. Take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Be honest with your answer, even if it's uncomfortable. You might feel sadness because you miss the connection. You might feel anger because you believe you deserve better communication. You might feel insecurity because their distance has triggered old wounds. Whatever arises, name it without attaching blame or judgment. These feelings are not bad or wrong, they simply are. Once you've named your emotions, take the time to explore them. Sit with them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What does this emotion want me to know? Often, emotions serve as a mirror, reflecting deeper truths about ourselves. Maybe the sadness you feel is rooted in a fear of abandonment that stems from past experiences. Maybe the anger points to unmet needs for respect or reciprocity in your relationships. When you explore these emotions with curiosity instead of resistance, you gain valuable insights into your inner world. It's also important to give yourself permission to feel without rushing to fix anything. In our fast-paced world, we're conditioned to seek solutions and move forward as quickly as possible. But emotions aren't problems to solve, they're experiences to navigate. Allow yourself the grace to feel without needing to find immediate closure. Cry if you need to. Journal your thoughts. Talk to someone you trust. These acts of expression are not signs of weakness, they are acts of courage and self-compassion. During this process, be mindful of the stories you tell yourself about your emotions. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism or overanalysis. You might think, why am I so sensitive? Or maybe I'm overreacting. These thoughts only serve to invalidate your experience. Instead, remind yourself that your feelings are valid. They are a natural response to the situation at hand. Feeling hurt or disappointed does not make you weak, it makes you human. As you acknowledge your emotions, it's equally important to create a safe and supportive environment for yourself. This might mean setting boundaries with others who don't understand what you're going through. It might mean prioritizing self-care activities that help you feel grounded and calm, such as meditation, deep breathing, or spending time in nature. By nurturing yourself during this time, you signal to your mind and body that it's okay to feel, and it's okay to heal. Finally, remember that emotions are not permanent states. They ebb and flow like waves, rising and falling with time. What feels overwhelming today will feel lighter tomorrow. By facing your emotions instead of running from them, you allow the natural process of emotional release to unfold. This doesn't mean the pain will vanish overnight, but it does mean that you'll begin to move through it with greater clarity and resilience. The act of acknowledging your emotions is not just about addressing the pain of someone else's distance, it's about reconnecting with yourself. It's about tuning into your inner voice, understanding your own needs, and reclaiming your power in the face of uncertainty. By doing so, you lay the foundation for growth, healing, and ultimately a deeper sense of self-awareness. When someone grows distant and the silence feels unbearable, there's a natural tendency to focus on them, on their actions, their reasons, their motives. Questions spiral in your mind. Why did they stop reaching out? Did I say something wrong? What changed? This intense outward focus might feel like it will lead to answers or closure, but more often, it leaves you stuck in a loop of uncertainty and self-doubt. To truly move forward, the most powerful shift you can make is to turn your attention inward. Shifting the focus inward is not about ignoring what's happening outside of you. It's about reclaiming the energy you've been pouring into overthinking and redirecting it toward understanding yourself. When someone's behavior stirs up uncomfortable feelings, it's a signal, a call to look within and examine how you are relating to yourself in that moment. The external situation might be out of your control, but your inner world is always within your reach. By choosing to focus inward, you step into a space where growth and healing become possible. This process begins with awareness. Pay attention to the thoughts running through your mind and the emotions rising within you. Are you blaming yourself for their distance? Are you making assumptions about what they're thinking or feeling? Are you letting their actions dictate your sense of self-worth? Often these automatic responses are driven by deeper patterns shaped by past experiences or unmet needs. By observing your inner dialogue without judgment, you begin to uncover the beliefs and stories that are influencing your emotions. Once you've brought these patterns to light, ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me about myself? Perhaps their distance is triggering old fears of abandonment, reminding you of a time when you felt unseen or unimportant. Perhaps it's highlighting a need for validation that you've been seeking outside of yourself. These insights are not about placing blame, they're about gaining clarity. Each revelation is an opportunity to learn more about who you are and what you need. As you turn your focus inward, it's essential to nurture a sense of self-compassion. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism, telling yourself that you're too needy or not good enough, but these harsh judgments only deepen the pain. Instead, approach yourself with kindness and understanding. Speak to yourself as you would to a close friend who is hurting. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel vulnerable, that your emotions are valid, and that you are worthy of love and respect regardless of how anyone else treats you. Inward focus also means reconnecting with the parts of yourself that bring you joy and fulfillment. When someone's distance leaves a void, it's an invitation to fill that space with activities and experiences that nourish your soul. Think about the hobbies, interests, or passions that light you up. When was the last time you lost yourself in something you truly loved, whether it was creating art, exploring nature, or simply enjoying a good book? These moments of self-expression and pleasure remind you of the richness of your own company. It's important to remember that focusing inward is not about isolating yourself or withdrawing from the world. It's about grounding yourself in your own sense of identity and worth. When you cultivate a strong inner foundation, you become less dependent on external validation. You begin to realize that your value is not determined by someone else's attention or approval. It is inherent, unshakable, and always present. This inner shift also allows you to approach relationships from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. When you're deeply connected to yourself, you no longer seek someone else to complete you or fill a void. Instead, you enter relationships as a complete and fulfilled individual, ready to share your love and energy without losing yourself in the process. Focusing inward also means giving yourself the space to process what you're feeling without rushing to fix it or seek immediate resolution. This might involve journaling, meditating, or simply sitting in silence and allowing your emotions to surface. These practices help you stay present with yourself even in moments of discomfort. They teach you that you can hold space for your pain without being consumed by it. As you continue to turn inward, you may notice a subtle but powerful transformation. The questions that once consumed you, why are they acting this way, or what can I do to change their behavior, begin to lose their grip. Instead, new questions emerge. What do I need right now to feel at peace? How can I show up for myself in this moment? These are the questions that lead to true healing and empowerment. When you shift the focus inward, you take back the energy you once gave away freely. You reclaim the power to define your own narrative, to choose how you respond to life's challenges, and to build a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. The journey inward is not always easy, but it is always worth it. It's a path of self-discovery, resilience, and self-love. Each step you take brings you closer to the person you were always meant to be. True fulfillment is an internal state, one that arises from within and is not dependent on external circumstances or the actions of others. When someone stops texting or grows distant, it can feel like a direct blow to your sense of worth. Thoughts like, was I not good enough? Or did I do something wrong often creep in, creating a narrative that ties your value to their behavior. But this mindset is a trap, one that keeps you tethered to external validation, a fragile and fleeting source of self-worth. The key to overcoming this lies in recognizing that your true sense of value does not come from how others treat you, it comes from how you see and treat yourself. When you rely on external validation, you hand over the reins of your happiness to forces outside your control. It's like building a house on shifting sand. The foundation is unstable, and any change in the tide can leave you feeling unsteady. One day you might feel elated because someone's attention reassures you, but the next day their silence could send you spiraling. This cycle is exhausting and unsustainable. Realizing this is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Begin by understanding that seeking external validation is a deeply human tendency. From a young age, many of us are conditioned to equate our worth with how others perceive us. Praise, approval, and recognition often become the metrics by which we measure our value. But as we grow, we must unlearn this conditioning and recognize that no amount of external validation can substitute for the inner confidence that comes from knowing who you are. Building this inner confidence requires a shift in focus from what others think of you to how you view yourself. Take a moment to reflect. Do you genuinely believe in your own worth, or are you waiting for someone else to confirm it? When you understand that your value is inherent and not dependent on external factors, you begin to free yourself from the need for constant reassurance. This doesn't mean that other people's opinions or actions won't affect you. We're social beings, and connection is a fundamental part of life. But it does mean that their behavior no longer defines you. When someone grows distant, it's not a reflection of your inadequacy, it's a reflection of their journey, their choices, or their challenges. Your worth remains intact, untouched by their actions. Cultivating this mindset takes practice and intention. One powerful way to do this is through self-affirmation. Start by identifying the qualities, skills, and strengths that make you who you are. Write them down, say them out loud, or remind yourself of them whenever doubt creeps in. These affirmations are not about ego, they're about grounding yourself in the truth of your value. They help you build a solid foundation of self-esteem that no external circumstance can shake. Another essential step is setting boundaries, both with others and within yourself. When someone's distance triggers feelings of inadequacy, it's easy to spiral into overthinking, overanalyzing, or overcompensating. You might find yourself texting them repeatedly, trying to fix the situation or changing parts of yourself to win back their attention. But this approach only reinforces the belief that your worth depends on their response. Setting boundaries means recognizing when you're giving away too much of your energy and choosing to redirect it toward yourself. It's about saying, I deserve to be treated with respect and care, and I will not compromise my dignity for the sake of validation. This journey also involves learning to sit with discomfort without seeking quick fixes. When someone grows distant, the immediate urge might be to fill the void they've left, whether through distraction, seeking validation elsewhere, or trying to force answers. But these reactions are often temporary bandages for deeper wounds. Instead, allow yourself to sit with the discomfort, even when it feels difficult. This practice teaches you resilience and helps you build a stronger relationship with yourself. Over time, you may notice a profound shift in how you approach relationships. When you're rooted in your own sense of worth, you stop chasing after others to fill a void. Instead, you approach connections with an open heart, knowing that you have everything you need within yourself. You no longer settle for crumbs of attention or affection because you understand that you deserve so much more. This inner confidence radiates outward, attracting relationships that are based on mutual respect and genuine connection. It's also important to recognize the role of self-care in nurturing your sense of worth. Taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being is a tangible way to show your self-love and respect. This might involve practicing mindfulness, pursuing your passions, or simply taking time to rest and recharge. When you prioritize yourself, you reinforce the message that you are valuable, regardless of how anyone else treats you. Ultimately, detaching from external validation is not about closing yourself off from the world or becoming indifferent to others. It's about shifting the balance, learning to value yourself enough that someone else's actions no longer dictate your happiness or self-esteem. By cultivating this inner confidence, you reclaim your power and step into a space of true fulfillment, one that no one else can take away from you. When someone becomes distant, it's natural to take their behavior personally. The mind instinctively fills in the blanks, often crafting stories that place the blame squarely on your shoulders. Did I say something wrong? Am I not interesting enough? Did I fail to meet their expectations? These thoughts create a spiral of self-doubt and overanalysis, where every interaction is scrutinized and every silence feels like a rejection. But what if their distance has little to do with you? What if the gap you're perceiving is more a reflection of their internal world than it is of your worth? Understanding this concept requires a shift in perspective. Human behavior is complex, shaped by countless factors: past experiences, current stressors, personal insecurities, and emotional capacity, to name a few. People act in ways that make sense to them, often based on what they are going through at the moment. Their actions are rarely about you, even when it feels deeply personal. Imagine someone carrying a heavy load of their own struggles. Perhaps they're dealing with stress at work, unresolved trauma, or uncertainty about their feelings. Their distance may be a coping mechanism, a way to create space while they sort through their emotions. It might even be unintentional, stemming from a lack of self-awareness or communication skills. None of this diminishes the impact their behavior has on you, but it does provide context. By stepping back and considering the bigger picture, you can begin to see their actions as part of their journey, not as a reflection of your value. Taking their behavior less personally doesn't mean dismissing your feelings or excusing hurtful actions. It means recognizing that their choices are influenced by factors beyond your control. This perspective allows you to release the burden of over-responsibility, the belief that you are somehow to blame for their distance. It frees you from the exhausting task of trying to fix or change someone else, a task that is neither fair to you nor realistic. This shift in perspective requires self-awareness and a willingness to challenge your initial reactions. When someone acts distant, the automatic response might be to internalize their behavior and search for flaws within yourself. But instead of jumping to conclusions, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, is this really about me? Or could it be about something they're going through? Often, you'll find that the answer lies in the latter. It's also important to recognize the limits of your influence. While you can communicate openly and show support, you cannot control how someone chooses to respond or process their emotions. People must take responsibility for their own growth and healing, just as you must take responsibility for yours. Trying to shoulder their emotional load or fix their issues can leave you feeling drained and unfulfilled. Instead, focus on what you can control: your own actions, choices, and responses. Another aspect of shifting perspective is embracing the idea that not all relationships or connections are meant to last forever. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When someone grows distant, it might simply be their role in your journey coming to an end. This doesn't negate the value of what you shared. It simply means that their path is diverging from yours. Accepting this truth can be painful, but it also opens the door to new possibilities and connections that align more closely with who you are becoming. To help internalize this perspective, practice empathy, not just for others, but also for yourself. Empathy allows you to see beyond someone's actions and consider the underlying reasons for their behavior. It reminds you that everyone is carrying unseen burdens and navigating their own struggles. This doesn't excuse hurtful actions, but it does soften the blow of taking them personally. At the same time, extend empathy to yourself by acknowledging your feelings and validating your experience. It's okay to feel hurt, disappointed, or confused. These emotions are natural responses to unmet expectations or changes in a relationship. Reframing the situation doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending that their distance doesn't affect you. It means holding space for both truths: that their behavior is influenced by their internal world, and that your feelings are valid and worthy of acknowledgement. By embracing this duality, you create room for understanding and healing. Practicing mindfulness can also support this shift in perspective. When you notice yourself spiraling into overthinking or self-blame, take a moment to ground yourself in the present. Focus on your breath, observe your thoughts without judgment, and gently redirect your attention to what you can control. Mindfulness helps you break free from the cycle of overanalyzing and brings clarity to your emotions and reactions. Over time, this approach allows you to approach relationships with greater confidence and resilience. You begin to understand that other people's actions are not a direct measure of your worth or desirability. You realize that you are whole and complete, regardless of who chooses to stay or go. This mindset empowers you to navigate life's uncertainties with grace, knowing that your value is not tied to anyone else's behavior. When someone stops texting or becomes distant, it can feel like a rejection, a sudden void that leaves you grasping for answers and understanding. In these moments, the instinct might be to seek closure from them, to ask why, to demand explanations, to try to piece together a puzzle whose pieces may not even exist. But true closure does not come from another person, it comes from within. It is an internal process, a decision you make to let go of what you cannot control and to embrace the clarity and peace that arise from accepting what is. Closure is often misunderstood as something external, something that must be given to you by the other person involved. It's tempting to believe that if they would just explain their actions, apologize, or provide some kind of justification, the aching in your heart would ease. While external explanations can sometimes provide temporary relief, they rarely address the deeper feelings of hurt, confusion, or loss. The truth is, no amount of explanation can undo the past or fully resolve the emotions tied to it. Real closure comes when you decide to stop seeking answers from outside yourself and instead turn inward for resolution. Letting go of the need for external closure begins with accepting that not everything in life comes with a clear explanation. People are complex, and their actions are often influenced by factors they may not even fully understand themselves. Someone's distance might stem from fear, insecurity, or circumstances beyond their control, things they may never be able to articulate. Waiting for them to provide closure can leave you trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment, constantly seeking something they may not be capable of giving. Instead of seeking answers from them, focus on creating your own narrative. This doesn't mean making up stories or assumptions about their actions. It means choosing how you want to interpret the situation in a way that empowers you. For example, instead of thinking, "They stopped texting because I wasn't good enough," you can choose a more compassionate and balanced perspective, such as, "Their distance reflects their own journey, not my worth." By reframing the story in a way that centers your growth and self-worth, you take control of your emotional experience. The process of finding closure within yourself also involves acknowledging and processing your emotions. Unresolved feelings, whether they're anger, sadness, or disappointment, don't simply disappear. Over time, they linger and can resurface in unexpected ways. Give yourself permission to feel these emotions fully without judgment. Cry if you need to, write down your thoughts in a journal, or talk to a trusted friend or therapist. These acts of expression help you release the emotional weight you're carrying, making space for healing and clarity. As you process your emotions, consider what this experience is teaching you. Every challenge, no matter how painful, carries within it an opportunity for growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Perhaps this experience is teaching you the importance of setting boundaries or the value of prioritizing relationships where communication and respect are mutual. Perhaps it's showing you areas where you've been seeking validation outside of yourself and inviting you to cultivate a deeper sense of self-worth. By focusing on the lessons, you shift your attention from what was lost to what can be gained. Finding closure within also means practicing forgiveness, not necessarily for their benefit, but for your own. Holding on to resentment or anger ties you to the past, keeping the wound open and preventing you from moving forward. Forgiveness is not about condoning their actions or pretending you weren't hurt. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional grip of the situation. It's a decision to release the pain and choose peace over bitterness. This act of forgiveness is as much for you as it is about the other person. Cultivating closure requires you to focus on the present moment and what lies ahead. It's easy to dwell on what could have been or replay past interactions, but this keeps you anchored in a reality that no longer exists. Instead, redirect your energy toward the here and now. What can you do today to nurture your well-being? What goals or passions can you pursue that bring you joy and fulfillment? By shifting your focus to the present, you reclaim your power and begin to create a life that feels vibrant and meaningful. Part of closure is also about accepting uncertainty. You may never know the full reasons behind someone's actions, and that's okay. Life is filled with unanswered questions, and learning to sit with the unknown is a powerful skill. It teaches you resilience and helps you trust in your ability to navigate challenges without needing all the answers. Acceptance doesn't mean you agree with what happened. It means you recognize that some things are beyond your control and choose to make peace with that reality. This journey toward internal closure is deeply personal and often nonlinear. There will be days when the pain feels distant and others when it resurfaces unexpectedly. Be patient and gentle with yourself as you navigate this process. Each step you take toward finding closure within is a step toward reclaiming your sense of self, your peace, and your power. It's about recognizing that while you cannot change the past, you have full agency over how you move forward. When someone becomes distant or stops communicating, there's a strong temptation to interpret their behavior as a reflection of your worth or as a sign that something is inherently wrong with you. This inclination to internalize their actions often stems from past conditioning, societal pressures, and deeply ingrained fears of rejection. However, taking their behavior as a personal attack can lead to unnecessary emotional suffering and hinder your ability to see the situation clearly. To truly free yourself from this cycle of self-doubt and overthinking, it's crucial to detach their actions from your self-worth and see the situation as it is, not as a verdict on who you are. First, it's important to recognize the tendency to internalize. When someone you care about acts distant, your mind might immediately jump to questions like, what did I do wrong, or why wasn't I enough for them? These thoughts are not only exhausting but often misleading. Their behavior is more likely a reflection of their own emotional state, priorities, or challenges than it is a judgment of your character or value. By understanding this, you can begin to untangle yourself from the narrative that their actions are about you. This process of detachment starts with shifting your focus from self-blame to curiosity. Instead of assuming that their behavior is a response to something you did, consider the broader context. What might they be going through that you're unaware of? Are there external stressors in their life that could be influencing their actions? These questions aren't about excusing their behavior, but about broadening your perspective. It's not your job to diagnose or fix their situation, but by considering their possible challenges, you remind yourself that their distance isn't necessarily a reflection of your worth. Another powerful tool for detachment is self-awareness. Pay attention to your inner dialogue when you notice someone pulling away. Are you falling into patterns of self-criticism or catastrophizing? Are you telling yourself stories that amplify feelings of inadequacy? By observing these thoughts without judgment, you create space between your emotions and the situation at hand. This space allows you to respond with clarity and self-compassion, rather than reacting from a place of insecurity or fear. Detaching their actions from your self-worth also involves building a stronger relationship with yourself. When you cultivate a deep sense of self-acceptance and confidence, you become less susceptible to the highs and lows of other people's behavior. This doesn't mean that you stop caring or feeling hurt. It means that you no longer allow their actions to dictate your sense of identity. You understand that your value is not something that can be diminished by someone else's choices. It is intrinsic, constant, and unwavering. To nurture this sense of self-worth, take time to reflect on your unique qualities and strengths. What are the aspects of yourself that you're proud of? What contributions do you bring to your relationships, your work, and your community? Remind yourself regularly of your inherent value and don't wait for external validation to affirm it. Self-worth is something you build from within, and it grows stronger each time you choose to honor and respect yourself, regardless of how others treat you. Practicing healthy boundaries is another essential step in detaching from their actions. When someone pulls away, the instinct might be to overextend yourself, to chase after their attention, or to try to fix the relationship at all costs. But this approach often backfires, leaving you feeling depleted and even more disconnected. Setting boundaries means respecting your own needs and refusing to compromise your dignity or well-being for the sake of someone else's approval. It's about recognizing that you deserve relationships that are reciprocal, respectful, and nurturing. At the same time, learning to detach from someone else's actions doesn't mean you stop caring or become indifferent. It means finding a balance between empathy and self-preservation. You can care deeply about someone and still choose not to let their behavior control your emotional state. This balance allows you to maintain your integrity and self-respect while also honoring your feelings for the other person. Mindfulness and self-compassion are invaluable practices in this process. When feelings of rejection or inadequacy arise, take a moment to pause and observe your thoughts. Instead of trying to suppress or argue with them, simply acknowledge their presence. Say to yourself, I see that I'm feeling hurt right now. And that's okay. This doesn't mean I'm unworthy or unlovable. It just means I'm human. These small acts of self-kindness help you navigate difficult emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. It's also important to recognize that people's actions often have more to do with their own internal struggles than with you. They might be dealing with fear, confusion, or unresolved issues that prevent them from showing up fully in the relationship. While it's natural to want clarity or closure, sometimes the best thing you can do is accept that their behavior is a reflection of their own journey, not a measure of your value. This perspective doesn't eliminate the pain of their distance, but it does help you approach the situation with greater understanding and peace. As you practice detaching their actions from your self-worth, you'll notice a shift in how you view yourself in your relationships. You'll feel more grounded and confident, less reliant on external validation, and more capable of navigating the uncertainties of life with grace. This inner strength allows you to engage in relationships from a place of wholeness, rather than seeking others to fill gaps in your sense of self. Ultimately, detaching their actions from your self-worth is a gift you give to yourself, one that empowers you to embrace your inherent value and move through life with resilience and confidence. When someone grows distant or stops communicating, it's easy to fall into a pattern of overthinking, trying to decode their every action or inaction. The mind becomes a relentless investigator, replaying conversations, analyzing tone, and constructing scenarios that often lead to self-doubt or emotional exhaustion. In such moments, it becomes vital to shift the focus away from them and their actions and instead place your attention squarely on yourself. This isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending the situation doesn't hurt. It's about recognizing the importance of prioritizing your own well-being and reclaiming your sense of balance and control. Focusing on yourself means giving yourself permission to redirect the energy you've been pouring into someone else back into your own growth, happiness, and fulfillment. It's a deliberate choice to step away from the cycle of seeking answers or validation from another person and instead turn inward to nurture your own needs. This process begins with self-awareness, acknowledging how much time, mental space, and emotional energy you've been devoting to trying to understand or fix the situation. By recognizing this, you create an opening to shift that energy toward activities and practices that genuinely support your well-being. One way to begin focusing on yourself is by reconnecting with the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. When someone's distance consumes your thoughts, it can feel as though your world has narrowed to the size of that one relationship. To counter this, Actively seek out the passions, hobbies, and interests that make you feel alive. Whether it's painting, writing, exercising, or exploring nature, engaging in activities you love reminds you that your life is rich and meaningful beyond any single relationship. It also helps to shift your focus from what you've lost to what you still have an abundance of opportunities to create joy and purpose. Self-care is another crucial aspect of focusing on yourself. When you're emotionally distressed, it's easy to neglect your physical and mental health. You might lose sleep, skip meals, or isolate yourself from friends and family. Prioritizing self-care means making a conscious effort to meet your basic needs and beyond. It's about nourishing your body with healthy food, getting enough rest, and staying active. It's also about tending to your emotional health through practices like journaling, meditation, or therapy. These small but significant acts of self-care send a powerful message to yourself that you are worthy of love, care, and attention even when someone else's actions make you question it. Focusing on yourself also involves setting boundaries, not just with others, but with your own thoughts. When someone's distance triggers a spiral of overthinking, it's important to interrupt the cycle. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or ignoring your thoughts, but rather redirecting them when they become unproductive. Practice mindfulness by grounding yourself in the present moment. Pay attention to your breath. Notice the sensations in your body, or focus on the sights and sounds around you. These techniques help to quiet the mind and bring you back to the here and now, where you have the power to take meaningful action. Another way to prioritize yourself is by investing in your personal growth. Use this time to explore areas where you want to grow, whether it's learning a new skill, advancing in your career, or deepening your understanding of yourself through self-reflection. Personal growth is empowering because it shifts your focus from what you can't control the actions of others to what you can control your own development. It reminds you that life is full of opportunities to expand, evolve, and become the best version of yourself. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is also key to focusing on yourself. When someone becomes distant, it's easy to feel isolated or disconnected. Reach out to friends, family, or loved ones who uplift you and remind you of your worth. Share your feelings with them, not as a way to dwell on the situation, but as a way to release the emotions you've been holding inside. Connection is a powerful antidote to loneliness, and it reinforces the truth that you are valued and loved, even when one person pulls away. Gratitude can also play a transformative role in shifting your focus. When you're hurt by someone's actions, it's natural to dwell on what you're missing. Practicing gratitude helps to counterbalance this by reminding you of all the good that still exists in your life. Take a few moments each day to reflect on what you're grateful for, whether it's a kind word from a friend, a beautiful sunset, or the strength you've shown in navigating challenges. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it broadens your perspective and helps you see that your life is still abundant. Lastly, focusing on yourself means giving yourself the grace and patience to heal. Emotional wounds take time, and the process is rarely linear. There will be days when you feel strong and resilient, and others when the hurt feels fresh and overwhelming. Be kind to yourself in those moments. Remind yourself that healing is not about erasing the pain, but about learning to carry it with compassion and courage. By prioritizing yourself, you reclaim your power and reaffirm your worth. You remind yourself that your happiness and fulfillment are not dependent on any one person's presence or actions. Instead, they are rooted in the relationship you have with yourself, a relationship that is always within your control and always worth nurturing. When someone you care about grows distant, it can feel as though your sense of connection and stability has been disrupted. In these moments, the desire for clarity and resolution often leads to focusing on what you cannot control: their actions, their choices, and their feelings. However, one of the most empowering steps you can take is to redirect your energy toward building a deeper relationship with yourself. This shift not only helps you navigate the pain of disconnection, but also strengthens your sense of self-worth and resilience regardless of external circumstances. Developing a deeper connection with yourself starts with introspection. Spend time exploring who you are at your core, your values, desires, strengths, and aspirations. These aspects of yourself often become overshadowed when you're caught up in the dynamics of a relationship. Journaling is an excellent way to uncover these layers. Write about what brings you joy, what you dream of achieving, and what makes you feel alive. By doing so, you begin to reconnect with the parts of yourself that remain constant, even when relationships shift or change. This inward journey also involves examining how you've been showing up for yourself. Are you treating yourself with the same care and compassion you extend to others? Often, when someone grows distant, the instinct is to focus on what you can do to bridge the gap, pouring energy into understanding or supporting them. But this can leave little room for nurturing your own needs. Building a deeper relationship with yourself requires redirecting that energy inward, becoming your own source of comfort, encouragement, and support. Self-compassion is a cornerstone of this process. It's natural to feel a mix of emotions when someone pulls away: hurt, confusion, sadness, or even anger. Instead of judging yourself for these feelings or trying to push them aside, allow yourself to experience them fully. Speak to yourself as you would to a close friend, with words of kindness and understanding. Acknowledge that it's okay to feel vulnerable and that your emotions are valid. Self-compassion doesn't make the pain disappear, but it creates a safe space for healing to begin. Spending quality time with yourself is another way to deepen this connection. When was the last time you enjoyed your own company? Solitude can be incredibly enriching when approached with intention. Take yourself on a date, visit a museum, try a new restaurant, or watch a movie you've been wanting to see. Engage in activities that spark your creativity or help you unwind, whether that's painting, gardening, or practicing yoga. These moments of solitude are opportunities to rediscover what makes you unique and to appreciate your own presence. Another important aspect of strengthening your relationship with yourself is cultivating a mindset of self-acceptance. This means embracing all parts of who you are: the strengths and the flaws, the victories and the mistakes. Often, when someone becomes distant, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy, as though their actions are a reflection of your shortcomings. But your worth is not determined by anyone else's behavior or approval. Self-acceptance is about recognizing that you are enough exactly as you are, and that your value is not up for negotiation. Setting personal goals can also play a transformative role in this journey. Use this time to think about what you want to achieve, independent of anyone else. What are the dreams you've put on hold? What passions have you neglected? Pursuing these goals not only gives you a sense of purpose, but also reinforces the idea that your happiness and fulfillment are within your control. Whether it's learning a new skill, advancing in your career, or embarking on a fitness journey, each step you take toward your aspirations is a step toward strengthening your sense of self. Gratitude is another powerful practice for deepening your connection with yourself. It's easy to get caught up in what you're missing when someone pulls away, but gratitude shifts your focus to what you still have. Reflect on the qualities you appreciate about yourself, the experiences that have shaped you, and the moments of joy you've created. By cultivating gratitude for yourself and your journey, you begin to see yourself as whole and complete, rather than defined by the presence or absence of another person. Building a deeper relationship with yourself also involves letting go of the need for external validation. It's natural to seek affirmation from others, but relying on it can leave you vulnerable to feeling unworthy when it's not forthcoming. Instead, practice affirming yourself. Celebrate your achievements, big and small. Remind yourself of the qualities that make you special. The more you rely on your own inner voice for validation, the less power you give to external circumstances to dictate your sense of worth. Finally, developing a relationship with yourself means committing to lifelong self-discovery and growth. You are an evolving being, constantly learning, changing, and adapting. Embrace this journey with curiosity and openness. Seek out new experiences. Challenge yourself to step outside your comfort zone and remain receptive to the lessons life has to offer. Each step you take toward understanding and embracing yourself strengthens the foundation upon which all other relationships are built. By focusing on yourself in this way, you create a life that feels rich and fulfilling, regardless of external circumstances. You become your own anchor, capable of weathering the storms of uncertainty and change. This deep relationship with yourself becomes a source of strength and joy, a reminder that you are and always have been enough.